All right, on to the details now. A member of the Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, Akenteng Apiamenka, has called on the parties in the presidential election petition to make the most crucial decision of accepting the Supreme Court judgment live in the courtroom for the millions of Ghanaians across the country to see and hear through the media. He said the most crucial decision in the election petition was not the judgment to be delivered on Thursday, but the open and immediate acceptance of the decision live in front of the television cameras. The senior citizen pointed out that while accepting the results in the courtroom, they should also not hesitate to convey to their supporters right in front of television cameras the need to take the Supreme Court decision in good faith. The re-elected chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Dr. Opoku Onyina, is urging Ghanaians to respect the verdict of the Supreme Court and be considerate in their celebration after the court's ruling. He was speaking at an induction and farewell service held at the PIWC Atomic in Accra.
A farewell and induction service was held at the Pentecost International Worship Center at Atomic in Accra. Apostle Dr. Opoku Onyina was sworn in as chairman of the Church of Pentecost. The General Secretary and other Executive Council were also sworn in to steer the affairs of the church. Reverend Dr. Paul Frimpong-Manso, the General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God Church, admonished the leaders to exercise the virtue of humility.
Humility is the foundation of all the other virtues. Hence, in the soul in which this virtue does not exist, this cannot be any other virtue except in mere appearance. And I wish that pattern will never be changed. That mantle of humility that he left the Church of Pentecost should never be taken away.
Apostle Dr. Opoku Onyina, the re-elected chairman of the Pentecost Church, in his inaugural speech urged Ghanaians to endeavor to make peace an integral part of their lives as we await the verdict of the Supreme Court.
My counsel to fellow Ghanaians is that we should continue to be agents of peace. And the peace we want is right within wherever you are. So if you respect the rule of law, respect your neighbor, respect yourself, you are not going to cause any distraction. You would trust that the Constitution has given the Supreme Court the authority to rule in case of anything within the country. And this is the time that they are speaking into our election situations. We must trust them that whatever they say is the voice of the people and therefore the voice of God. And therefore does not need any other person to cause chaos in any place at all.
He also urged Ghanaians to respect the rule of law.
And we remain with the verdict a little while longer. Nigerian prophet TB Joshua has prophesied that war will not befall Ghana after the country's Supreme Court pronounces its final verdict on the election petition, which has been before the Apex Court for the past 8 months. TB Joshua told his congregation at the headquarters of the Synagogue Church of All Nations in Nigeria on Sunday, August 25, 2013, that nothing untoward will happen to Ghana after the verdict. The prophecy, pronounced on Emmanuel TV, urged Ghanaians who are anxious and those who are leaving the country out of fear of a post-verdict conflict to relax and be at peace. The Deputy Communications Director of the opposition New Patriotic Party, Samuel Ewuku, has denied having any knowledge of a tape circulating in the media in which he is heard making derogatory remarks against some of the 9 justices of the Supreme Court hearing the election petition case. In a statement issued on Sunday, Ewuku categorically denied making any such comment, and I quote from him, "I state very emphatically that the said tape and whatever by products arising are totally fabricated and doctored, and that I have never made the kinds of statements contained in the said tape anywhere. A copy of the full statement is available on myjoyonline.com. The task force on the seizure of pirated Ghanaian textiles says it will resume work immediately the Supreme Court verdict is over. It had to suspend work because of security reasons. Now, the country's textile industry is still facing serious challenges with regards to pirated Ghanaian design, which is sold on the market at a cheaper cost. Meanwhile, the Trade Ministry has re-emphasized its call that from September 13th, all textile importers must disclose the point of entry of their consignment to the Ghana Standards Board. The Ghana Standards Authority. All importers of African prints must also register with the Registrar General's Department as well as the Ghana Revenue Authority for patent approval. Now, away from the capital, let's go up north, where students of WA Senior High Technical School in the Upper West region are at a loss on how to deal with an acute water shortage, which is hampering teaching and learning. The headmaster of the school, Babo Emmanuel, says the situation is unsustainable and needs urgent attention. From there, Rafiq Salam reports.
WA Senior High Technical School started on borrowed premises in 1983 following the closure of the WA Community Day Secondary School. It used to play second fiddle to WA Senior High School, which is sited a couple of kilometers away due to its inadequate learning facilities. A couple of years ago, it had less than 300 students and certain amenities, including water, were sufficient. But the school underwent massive infrastructural development thanks to the Ghana Education Trust Fund, and it's now been nicknamed Better Ghana School. So authorities upped students' admissions to over 1,700, bringing massive pressure on water resources. Each morning, students crowd at 2 boreholes with their buckets and yellow gallons. The competition for water often leads to heated arguments. The senior housemaster of the school, Asuma Suleiman, expressed concern about the situation.
The main pipe that ran through our former headmaster's bungalow, constant supply of water was assured. But when they did that work and diverted the line, the water stopped flowing. We follow up. Up to now, there's no response.
Acting Headmaster Babo Emmanuel talked of the challenges they have gone through to quench the thirst of students.
The situation is so serious. It affects learning because part of the day, students have to go looking for water for the dining hall, even though we have been enjoying some tanker services. But that is not enough. And so we are still appealing to the public to come to help.
He appealed to government and other benevolent organizations to come to their aid. Rafiq Salam's report from WA.
Health experts have detected a high incidence of hypertension and diabetes among residents of Isinimpong, a farming community in the Ashanti region. The alarming trend is attributed to self-medication, as there is evidence patients prefer reporting their ailment at the drugstores to seeing a doctor. This was revealed during a health outreach to the community by members of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin reports.
80% of over 700 people screened for hypertension and diabetes during the outreach tested positive at least for one of the diseases. According to health experts, the residents' attitude must change, especially as there is a clinic in the town. Over 5,000 Ghana cedis worth of drugs were also dispensed to the people at no cost. A clinical pharmacist at the Comfort Teaching Hospital, Charles Anane, said most of the residents are ignorant about their health status and called for an increase in primary health care delivery.
What I mean by primary care is that we have health posts, we have clinics in the villages, and what we need is for health personnel personnel to be posted to these areas. And the interesting aspect is that most of them are hypertensive, but they don't know they have hypertension. The adults have hypertension, 20% have malaria, and more than 50% to complain of waist pain, because most of them are farmers. So it's because of that they experience bodily pains and waist pains in particular.
He expressed unhappiness about the unwillingness of some to go to the hospital for proper diagnosis.
There are some drugs that are over-the-counter drugs, like paracetamol and multivitamins and other things. These are drugs you can buy. But people go to the hospital, they are given medication. But then when the medication gets finished, they resort to buying those medications themselves without going back to the hospital to be checked and to be maybe diagnosed differently again. And that's what we're saying, that's irresponsible drug use. You don't use a previously diagnosed medication, disease medication, for another sickness or illness that you might be experiencing.
And on to the Central Region now, where the regional manager of the Ghana Road Safety Commission, Stephen Anoche, says he is worried about the use of stimulants such as snuff and caffeine to keep drivers awake on long journeys. He maintained that these drugs affect the psyche of drivers and can delay reaction times, leading to road accidents.
For the road safety manager of Central Region, awake does not mean alert. Thus, drivers who feel tired should avoid using stimulants like coffee and snuff to complete the journey. Stephen Anoche maintains that the mental comportment of a driver is critical when it comes to road safety and lauded the introduction of Road Traffic Regulation LI 2180/2012. Speaking on the new licensing rules to verify the health status of drivers, including mental soundness and epilepsy, Anoche praised the laws of the country but bemoaned poor adherence and enforcement.
I believe that is what is informing the Commission and its stakeholders in coming out with this policy of, checking the mental alertness of drivers. Understand why drivers cannot just do the right things that they are always called to do.
Joy News, however, hits the streets of Cape Coast to capture drivers' impression on the issue. And interestingly, almost all the drivers who spoke have no idea about the newly introduced road regulation. Georgina Appiah's report for Joy News.
In Ghana, it was established 2 tax courts in October to deal solely with tax cases, especially with the growth of the oil and gas sector. The 2 courts will ensure proper adjudication of tax-related cases and equip judges to handle them accordingly. President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation, Ghana, Mike Kofi Aflu, announced this at the annual tax conference in Accra.
The oil and gas find has prompted several debates on prudent management of the revenue from the resource for economic growth. Domestic tax legislation therefore becomes critical, as taxation could be used as a tool for revenue mobilization in the sector. The 3rd International Annual Tax Conference brought together tax administrators, professionals and players to discuss the dynamics of an oil and gas-driven economy and the needed tax legislations. Topical was the handling of tax-related cases which comes with the oil and gas find.
With the effect from October, Ghana is going to have 2 tax courts to start with. Once we have tax courts, it means that we are not going to have proper adjudication of tax cases. Because here's a case where we are going to assist the judicial service to train most of the judges. Our professionals are going to train the judges for them to be well equipped with our tax laws so as to be able to give proper judgments.
The discussions also pointed out the flaws in the tax laws and how to bridge them.
some of the legislation that are scattered all over the place, the communication service tax, and the cases that have gone to court, and the rulings that have been made by the courts, and so on. So we're looking at the merits and demerits of all these things, whether the judgments, of the courts were in line with taxation, principles. Some agreed, some did not agree. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to identify all these and put them in the form of a communique to the Minister of Finance.
The Institute of Taxation Ghana added that tax strategies should not only aim at the oil and gas sector, but also look at other viable sectors such as agriculture for balanced economic growth.
And that's it for the AM News. Our top stories this morning. Over 1,700 students at WA Senior High Technical School depend on 2 boreholes for water. Veteran politician Akenten Appiah-Menka suggests that parties should accept the ruling of the election petition hearing live in court. Meanwhile, Nigerian prophet TB Joshua prophesies that Ghana will remain peaceful after the verdict on the 2013 presidential election petition. My name is Gifty and Appiah Rashidat Baba Kadiri standing by with the AM Sports. Do stay tuned.